I think it's official now. The greatest interrogation scene in any movie since The Dark Knight has been brought to us by the Muppets? Don't think I could have called that one. Oh, we're back. Muppets Most Wanted. So the Muppets Most Wanted is the sequel to the Muppets, or as Bunsen Honeydew says in the first song, this is actually the 7th sequel to our original motion picture. Anyways, Kermit, Ralph, Fozzie, Piggy, the whole gang, they're all back, and Ricky Gervais is their new tour manager, and they're going on a tour all throughout Europe. Except now we have another Muppet who's a supervillain, Dr. Evil type Muppet. He looks exactly like Kermit, except he has a mole, he breaks out of prison, he switches places with Kermit, and now everyone thinks Kermit is Constantine. Constantine is the name of the supervillain. This was a movie that I was really looking forward to. I love all the Muppet movies. I mean, yeah, there's some that are not as good as the others, but they're all entertaining. And was this movie entertaining? Yeah, it was. But was it as good as the last one? Was it as good as I think it could have been? I don't think so. It's not a bad movie at all. I mean, it's really fun. I don't think the Muppets are ever going to make a movie that I find, like, completely boring. I think Muppets in Space was, like, the borderline bad Muppet movie, but even then, the Muppets were still fun to watch in that movie. I think my main problem with this movie was that it focused a lot more on the human characters rather than the Muppets themselves. Look at the first 3 Muppet movies. Those are the ones that had the original cast. Jim Henson was still alive for those ones. In those movies, the main characters were actually the Muppets themselves. I mean, yeah, the bad guys were humans, and in Muppets Take Manhattan, they did have, like, one side character that was a human. But for the most part, in those movies, the human roles were restricted to cameos. I feel like this movie could have taken some hints from that. It does kind of feel like a Muppet movie of old a little bit. I will say the first musical number in this movie, I was digging it. I was like, okay, this thing's awesome. It totally reminded me of the Muppets in their glory days, but after that, the movie kind of lost something. The music all around in the movie is actually really good. It's Brett McKenzie, the same guy who did the music for the last Muppet movie. You're going to be singing most of these songs on the way home from the movie, which is more than I can say about a lot of other soundtracks. Even Frozen, like, I remember Let It Go, but I didn't really think of all the other songs until I went home and looked it up on Spotify. I was like, oh yeah, that song's in that movie. Oh, I completely forgot about that song, but it's good. But this movie, like, the songs are really catchy and they stick with you also. That's awesome. The villain Constantine, I didn't want to like him at first. He just looked really weird, but he was actually really funny to watch. Matt Vogel, the guy that does the voice for him, he did a really good job in this movie. I think the voice work for the most part in this movie was actually really good. I mean, there was a couple where I was kind of, it doesn't exactly sound like the original. Piggy, Fozzie, and the Newsman, just to name a couple. But they are still trying, and I know the heart is still there, so I'm okay with that. One problem I had with this movie that I was not expecting to have with it was that they actually used some CGI for the Muppets. I feel like in these movies, they're starting to use more shots with the Muppets where it's actually showing their full bodies. So, you know, there's some scenes like when Constantine's breaking out of the jail and they use a CGI frog Muppet to, like, flip around and everything. I was just watching it and I'm like, this doesn't look right. It's not real. One of the things that's really cool about the Muppets is when you're not seeing their full body and you can tell there's a person behind that voice and that face who's adding this personality and this charisma to these little pieces of felt. And so that was kind of lacking from those scenes. One more criticism is that the movie got a little heavy-handed near the end. I'm not talking about like drama like in the last movie, like, oh, I believe in you, we can do this together. No, it's not like that. It's like they tried to be like an action movie or like a James Bond movie. I mean, that's worked in the past for like Madagascar and stuff like that, but for the Muppets, I wasn't feeling it. Like, I'm gonna compare this movie to another Muppet movie again. The Great Muppet Caper, I mean, this movie takes a lot from The Great Muppet Caper. I mean, look at the end fight in that movie. It was played up completely for laughs. It was really entertaining to watch. They had like a Muppet doing like a wrestling match type voiceover narration. Totally fit the tone of that movie. This movie, it didn't work that well. But like I said, this movie is not a bad movie, and if you go to see it, you'll probably have a lot of fun with it. I'm going to give The Muppets Most Wanted a C+. I think it is a fun movie. I was going to give it a C, but those songs bumped it up a peg. So what's your favorite Muppet of all time? Whoever that is, comment down below and blow that comment section up. Thanks for watching this video. If you guys like it, then you can click here to see more videos and subscribe possibly, because that's just the thing to do nowadays. You all know it, don't I?